Chapter 1. The Matching Hypothesis. Think about the most attractive couple you know, the kind of pair that stops traffic when they walk into a room. You'd think they have it all figured out, but the reality is often the exact opposite. When two high-value individuals get together, you aren't just looking at a romance, you're looking at a powder keg of insecurity and ego. The problem is that both people are fully aware of their own market value. They know that at any given second, they could walk out the door and have 5 new options waiting in their DMs before they even hit the sidewalk. This creates a constant, low-level buzz of anxiety. The man is looking at the woman thinking about all the guys hitting on her, and she's looking at him wondering which fan he's talking to. It only works if both parties have the maturity to completely lock off and shut out the world. You have to be willing to ignore the noise and pretend the alternatives don't exist, which is a lot harder than it sounds when your phone is buzzing 24/7. The foundation of a long-term relationship isn't actually just love, it's alignment. We naturally gravitate toward people who match us. This isn't just about how you look in photos, it's about your bank account, your social status, and your ambition. This is what psychologists call the matching hypothesis. When there is a massive gap, like a billionaire dating a barista or a supermodel dating a guy who never leaves his basement, the power dynamic is skewed. The person with more value eventually gets bored or feels they can do better, and the person with less value becomes consumed by the fear of being replaced. Relationships actually last longer and feel more stable when you are equals. When you match on every level, there's a mutual respect because you both know what it took to get there. You're on the same team, playing the same game at the same stakes. However, being a high-status couple comes with a massive trap, the paradox of choice. In the modern world, we are told that more options equal more happiness, but in relationships, the opposite is true. When a high-value couple hits a rough patch, which every couple does, the exit signs are glowing in neon. If you have endless alternatives, why bother doing the hard work of communication? Why sit through a difficult conversation when you could just go on a luxury holiday with your friends and forget your partner exists? For people with high status, it's not just about replacing a partner with another person. It's about replacing the commitment with a more convenient lifestyle. When you have too many outs, your patience for your partner's flaws hits absolute zero. You stop being a partner and start being a critic. Contrast this with couples you see in small towns, the ones who have been together for 30 or 40 years since high school. If you look at their lives objectively, they have far fewer options than a high-flying couple in a major city. But here's the secret. They're often significantly more satisfied. Because they aren't constantly scanning the horizon for the next best thing, they actually invest in what they have. They don't have a grass is greener syndrome because they aren't looking at other lawns. Less choice forces you to water your own garden. When you know there isn't an easy replacement waiting for you, you find a way to make it work. You forgive the small mistakes and navigate the big ones. In a high-value relationship, the moment someone says, "You can't talk to me like that," they are mentally checking their DMs to see who will treat them better. That lack of tolerance is exactly what kills the connection. Chapter 2. The 1% woman and the mystery of loyalty. When we talk about a 1% woman, most guys immediately think of a girl who looks like she walked off a runway. Sure, beauty is the entry requirement. It's the ticket to the stadium, but it's not what keeps you in the game. A woman's true value isn't just in her face or her body, it's in her exclusivity. The moment a woman becomes accessible, she loses the very thing that makes her high value. If she is the most beautiful girl in the world, but she's constantly available for the male gaze, whether that's in person or online, she effectively devalues herself. She makes her partner look like an idiot because he's paying the full price for a product that everyone else is getting a free trial of. Loyalty is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but in the top 1%, loyalty isn't just about not sleeping with other men. That's the bare minimum. Real loyalty is about privacy and protection. It's about her making her man feel like he is something that no one else can touch. In the past, there was a natural barrier. A man had to put in real work, time, and commitment just to see a woman's body. There was a sacredness to that mystery. Today, that mystery is being auctioned off for likes and followers. If a woman is exposing herself to the entire world on social media, she is stripping away the prize aspect of the relationship. A top-tier woman should make every other man in the room jealous of her man. But the second those men realize they can see her naked or semi-clothed just by scrolling through her profile, that jealousy evaporates. They don't respect the man anymore because he hasn't secured anything exclusive. So, why do women who are already in good relationships with good guys keep doing this? Why keep posting for the gallery? It usually boils down to a craving for chaos or a deep-seated need for validation that has nothing to do with the man she's with. Often, she entered the relationship with unresolved insecurities. She needs a constant fix of attention from strangers to feel worthy, even if she has a man at home giving her everything she needs. It's like a drug. The partner's love becomes old news, and the new likes from random guys provide a fresh hit of dopamine. The harsh reality is that if a woman is truly satisfied with the love and attention she receives from her man, she loses the urge to post for the world. She doesn't need the backup validation from 1,000 strangers because she is full at home. When a woman is still operating for the streets while claiming to be in a committed relationship, it shows a lack of respect for the union. She's keeping her options open and her accessibility high just in case things go wrong. A 1% woman understands that her mystery is her power. By giving that away for free, she isn't just hurting her partner, she's lowering her own ceiling. Real high-value men don't want a community trophy. They want a private masterpiece. Chapter 3. Drama versus discipline. We've all seen those couples who seem to thrive on chaos. One minute they are deeply in love, and the next they are screaming at each other in public. Some people genuinely equate this constant conflict with passion or excitement. They pick fights over nothing just to feel a spark, using drama as a cheap substitute for a real connection. This keeping each other on their toes might feel exhilarating in the short term, but it is a double-edged sword that eventually cuts the relationship to pieces. You can't build a skyscraper on a foundation of shifting sand. While mystery and a bit of unpredictability can keep things interesting, a relationship that relies on drama is destined for burnout. For a connection to actually flourish and turn into something legendary, you need the polar opposite of chaos. You need the boring, steady, and unshakable pillars of monogamy and discipline. Let's be completely real here. Being a top 1% man and staying faithful is one of the hardest things you will ever do. If you are successful, fit, and high status, you are going to have options constantly thrown at you. You will always have the urges. That is simply biology. Your DNA is programmed to notice beauty and desire variety. But here is the massive distinction that most people miss. The difference between a boy and a high-value man is the ability to acknowledge those impulses without becoming a slave to them. A boy follows his feelings. A man follows his principles. Successful men who stay loyal aren't less attracted to other beautiful women than the guys who cheat. They feel the same pull, the same chemistry, and the same temptation. The difference is they are simply more disciplined. They have the mental foresight to realize that a 20-minute thrill is never worth flushing a 10-year empire down the drain. They prioritize their long-term legacy over their temporary, fleeting desires. Chapter 4. Self-control is true freedom in the modern world. High value is often marketed as having the most money or the most cars, but the true definition of high value is self-control. Think about it. Anyone can give in to an impulse. It takes 0 effort to eat junk food, 0 effort to get drunk, and 0 effort to cheat when the opportunity arises. Those aren't signs of power. They are signs of weakness. Every single time you exercise restraint, every time you say no to the girl in your DMs because you value your partner, every time you stay sober because you have a big meeting, and every time you hit the gym when you'd rather sleep in, you are making a deposit into your bank of self-respect. That self-respect is the only foundation for genuine, bulletproof self-esteem. You can't lie to yourself. You know when you've taken an easy way out, and your confidence suffers for it. But when you prove to yourself that your word is law, you start to feel like a superhero. There is a loud corner of the red pill community that claims a strong man is someone who simply does whatever he wants. They paint this picture of a king who indulges every whim and sleeps with every woman he sees because he can. That isn't a king, that's a slave. A man who follows every random impulse is no different from an animal in the wild. He is a slave to his hormones and his surroundings. The most powerful man in the room is actually the one who has the most options, but chooses the most discipline. He is the man who can say no to a beautiful woman because he values the sanctity of his home. He is the man who says no to the party because he has a vision for his business that requires a clear head the next morning. This level of mastery is what makes a man truly undriftable. When you apply the same discipline it takes to get a six-pack to your bank account and your marriage, you become a force of nature. People can't drift you or distract you because your internal compass is set on your long-term goals. You realize that self-control isn't about restricting yourself, it's about liberating yourself. True freedom isn't the ability to do whatever you want in the moment. It's the power to do what you actually want for your life. When you stop being a victim of your own desires, you finally take the wheel of your own destiny. Whether it's women, money, or fitness, the man who controls himself is the only one who can ever hope to control his world. Chapter 5: Mastering Rejection. One of the biggest hurdles men face in the dating world isn't actually a lack of looks or money, it's the crushing fear of rejection. Most men take a no as a direct attack on their character or their value as a human being. They personalize it, turning a 5-second interaction into a lifelong narrative about why they aren't good enough. But here is the cold, hard truth: rejection is rarely ever about you. When a woman says she isn't interested, you have no idea what is happening in her world at that exact moment. She could be in the middle of a massive blowout fight with her boyfriend. She might have just received bad news from work, or she might just be having a flat day where she doesn't want to speak to anyone. If you walk up to a woman who is already in a terrible mood, it doesn't matter if you're a millionaire movie star, she's going to shut you down. The reason men get so nervous that their hands shake is that they are overinvested in the outcome of a conversation with a total stranger. They've already built up a fantasy of how the date will go before they've even said hello. To fix this, you have to treat social interaction like a muscle that needs to be broken down to grow. I tell guys all the time, do something that scares you every single day. If you make it a habit to approach women in person, you eventually develop a social callus. You become immune to the no because you realize that the world doesn't end when a stranger isn't interested. In fact, you'll often find that the universe has a funny way of working. You might get rejected by one girl, and 5 minutes later, you'll meet a woman who is even more attractive, and she'll be incredibly responsive and warm. Rejection is just a numbers game, and the only way to lose is to stop playing. Don't let a few no's destroy your confidence when the yes of a lifetime could be just one more conversation away. Chapter 6: The Trap of the Public Relationship in the Era of Social Media. There is a massive temptation to turn your relationship into a brand. I've lived the Instagram couple life, and quite frankly, I wouldn't recommend it to anyone who values their sanity. On the surface, it looks great. The views go up. The engagement is through the roof, and people love the reality TV aspect of watching two attractive people navigate life together. But that spike in popularity comes at a massive cost. You're effectively inviting thousands of strangers, including some genuine psychopaths, into your private living room. When your relationship is public, it's no longer just between you and your partner. It's a three-way dynamic between you, her, and an anonymous audience. YouTube comments, in particular, are a breeding ground for toxicity. Because people can hide behind weird usernames and no profile pictures, they feel entitled to be ruthless. They will tear your partner's appearance or personality apart just for a bit of entertainment, and that pressure can break even the strongest woman. The real nightmare begins, however, when the relationship ends. In a private breakup, you deal with the pain, you heal, and you move on. In a public breakup, you don't get a clean break. For months, sometimes years after the split, you'll have people flooding your comments asking, "Where is she?" or "What happened?" This makes it nearly impossible for either person to actually heal. Every time she tries to post something new, she's bombarded with questions about her ex, which keeps her tethered to a past she's trying to leave behind. It creates a cycle of unnecessary drama that affects your mental health and your future dating prospects. Privacy is the ultimate shield against this chaos. Unless you are at the stage where you are starting a family and your foundation is rock solid, keep your romantic life off the feed. There is a profound level of peace that comes from knowing that the most important parts of your life aren't up for public debate. Protect your peace, protect your woman, and keep the cameras off until it actually matters. Chapter 7. The art of the approach. If you want to find a high quality woman, you have to stop looking in low quality places. Most men default to bars and clubs because the music is loud and the alcohol is flowing, but those environments are built on a foundation of superficiality. You aren't going to find a deep, meaningful connection in a place where you have to scream over a speaker just to ask someone their name. Instead, you need to position yourself in environments where people are actually living their real lives, places like the gym, a high-end coffee shop, or a relaxed beach club. These locations are superior because they act as a natural filter for shared interests and values. If you meet a woman at the gym, you already know she values her health, her discipline, and her routine. You've bypassed the first date interview questions because her lifestyle is already on display. It's about being strategic with your time and going where the kind of woman you actually want is likely to be hanging out. However, once you find yourself in these daytime environments, you have to master the nuance of the approach. There is a very fine line between being a confident man and being the gym weirdo. You should never, under any circumstances, interrupt a woman while she is in the middle of a set or has her headphones firmly on. That is her sanctuary, and if you invade it, you've already lost. The gentlemanly way to handle this is to wait for the natural exit moments. Catch her while she's refilling her water bottle, walking to her car, or finishing her post-workout stretch. This shows that you have the social intelligence to respect her boundaries, which is an incredibly attractive trait. By waiting for the right moment, you transform the interaction from an annoying interruption into a pleasant surprise. In-person interaction is the ultimate cheat code in a world dominated by digital noise. A DM is just text on a screen. It's flat, it's competitive, and it's easily ignored. Even if you have a blue tick and a million followers, you are still just a profile in a sea of other profiles. But when you stand in front of a woman in real life, she can read your energy, hear the tone of your voice, and see the way you carry yourself. You are giving her a 3D experience of who you are as a man. That raw, masculine presence is something that no amount of social media clout can ever replace. It builds immediate trust and attraction that would take weeks to establish online. If you can handle the pressure of an in-person approach, you've already proven you're in the top 1% of men who still have the backbone to speak their mind. Chapter 8. The First Date Strategy. The biggest mistake men make when they finally get the yes is trying to do too much too soon. They book the most expensive rooftop restaurant in the city, buy a new outfit, and treat the first date like it's a marriage proposal. This is a massive strategic error for two reasons. First, it sets an unsustainable expectation that you have to keep topping every single time you see her. Second, it involves a massive investment of your time and money in a person you might realize you don't even like within the first 10 minutes. You shouldn't be rewarding a woman with a 5-star experience just for showing up. A first date isn't a celebration, it's a screening process. You are there to see if she fits into your life, not to audition for a spot in hers. The most effective first date strategy is to keep it incredibly simple. Go for a walk in a nice park or meet for a coffee in a vibrant part of town. This low-pressure environment allows the conversation to be the focal point. Within 15 minutes of a coffee date, you will know exactly if you vibe with her, if she's intelligent, and if there's actual chemistry. If it's not working, you've only spent $5 and 30 minutes of your time. If it is working, you can always extend the date or suggest dinner later. By starting small, you maintain control over the pace of the relationship and keep the focus on the connection rather than the price tag of the meal. Some guys worry that a simple date makes them look cheap, but it's actually a brilliant filtering tool. A woman who is genuinely interested in you, your personality, your ambition, and your energy will be more than happy to grab a coffee and walk around. She wants to talk to you, not just eat a free steak. On the flip side, this strategy immediately weeds out the gold diggers and the foodie call girls who are only looking for a high-end experience at your expense. If she scoffs at a coffee date, she's telling you exactly what she values, and it isn't the connection. By keeping the first date casual and direct, you ensure that anyone who makes it to the second date is there for the right reasons. You are the prize, and she should be interested in the man sitting across from her, not the bill at the end of the night. Chapter 9. Bring her into your world. Leadership in a relationship isn't something that magically appears 6 months in. It starts the very second you decide to ask her out. Most men make the mistake of being too nice or indecisive, asking questions like, "Where do you want to go?" or "What do you feel like eating?" While they think they're being polite, they're actually offloading the mental burden of leadership onto the woman. A high value man doesn't ask for directions, he sets the destination. You need to take her into your world from day one. This means you don't go out of your way to create a fake, polished version of your life just to impress her. If your daily routine involves a specific local coffee shop or grabbing a quick meal at Nando's, that is exactly where you should take her. You aren't just taking her to lunch, you are giving her a front row seat to your actual life. If she doesn't fit into your real, day-to-day lifestyle, then you've saved yourself months of wasted time because you aren't compatible. There is no point in pretending to be a five-star guy who frequents fine dining establishments if that's not your reality. If you put on a front, you're trapped in a lie, and eventually, the mask will slip. By bringing her into your environment, you are testing her adaptability. Is she comfortable in your world? Does she enjoy the places you enjoy? When you hold her hand and lead her into your favorite spots, you're establishing a dynamic where you are the guide. You are the one setting the pace, and she is the one joining your journey. This builds an immediate foundation of masculine leadership that sets the tone for everything that follows.